drink your milkshake. We're going to buy the accounts. The entire nation is going through this right now, and it is a reckoning that is happening that is so important, actually, in this country. And thank you for putting us in this exciting position to explain to the country that we are the majority. That there is certainly a group, about 20% of the nation, that are psychotic, mentally disturbed, overly medicated, deeply unhappy, and worse, actually. I think there's an even smaller percentage of that of people who are actually truly evil that want to destroy this place. This country is a scion of Western civilization. We are the pillar that holds up the rest of the world. Living in the West is a privilege. It is not a right. There are rules we have to follow, and we'll uphold society if we follow them. Of course, if we allow the orcs to take over the ramparts of our great civilization built by greater men than us, we simply live, and I say this definitively, and I'm so profoundly proud of it, we live inside of a country that was built by great men. And it has been inherited by us. And it is our responsibility to those great men to keep it going. And we cannot keep it going with the current leadership of this country. And we must cast them asunder, ladies and gentlemen. I truly believe in my heart that they hate this place. And that's become clear. And there's one little thing I want to reconcile here that I think is really important. I posted about it this morning. By the way, gains. Donald Trump gains in 49 states, plus D.C. Well, that's a little bit of, that is a correction we must make on this program. Because in the days after the Trump victory on Tuesday, we told you that in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump did worse. That's not true. MAGA landslide. Biggest party swing since 1992. Best Republican showing in 20 years with young people, in 48 years with black voters, and in 52 years with Hispanics. You have to go back to JFK. Best popular vote for House Republicans in a presidential year since the 1920s in 100 years. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. There's a lot of calls for, here's the state of Texas. Look at that. There's a lot of calls for unity right now on the left. Those who are, those who have any sense of survival instinct are calling for unity. Now, I find that particularly interesting because if you go back through these people's timelines, they were calling all of us fascist garbage and Hitler just a few days ago. And so they now want to unify with Hitler, which I find particularly weird. And you shouldn't trust people that want to unify with Hitler, right? So you shouldn't trust these people. But let me explain to you why that's going to be a problem for me. I'm a Christian. I believe in redemption. I have been myself the recipient of great forgiveness in my life, and I don't ever wish to take that for granted. I was down on my knees with my head bowed, praying, like I assume you were, for Christ to deliver this nation from evil, and that is exactly what happened. Let me explain what evil looks like to me. And there's a lot of arguments to be made about why we shouldn't unify. COVID, polling showed that a preponderance of Democrats were willing to lock us in prison if we didn't take the COVID vaccine. That's what the polling shows. I don't think we have it available in the script, but polling shows that Democrats were willing to enable, they had the majority on their side to take me away from my children if I refused a therapeutic, given a mandate. Destroy my job, my business, my capacity to provide for my kids. They were willing to destroy that. That's an evil. That's one reason not to unify. Until that gets rooted out, that is a literal societal poison. The separation of parents from their children. Ladies and gentlemen, that's one good reason not to unify. Another good reason not to unify is that you must have to keep a society going, you must be pro-family. Until the left decides that it's more important to celebrate parenthood and to honor mothers and fathers who are showing up for their kids than to butcher their children, I don't want to unify with that. Not willing to do it. You're going to have to explain, you're going to have to you're going to have to ask for forgiveness for that. You're going to have to show recompense that you are willing to honor and uplift parents more than you're willing to sacrifice children. That's important. And by the way, Trump won women. Do you understand this? Your message failed. Trump won historic margins with women, with young voters, with black voters, with Hispanic voters, with Asian voters, with Native American voters. Trump won historic margins across the board in every state. But this is the one that gets me more than any of the others, because the others you could see, the others you are almost, what's the right way to say this? What is the greatest civilizational threat to our nation? I want to show you why I posted this morning. Here's what I said. Dear Barack Obama and Eric Holder, I told you that we would be training our muscle on this program on the people truly behind it. It had nothing to do with Kamala. She's literally a Muppet. The Muppets where on Sesame Street, where a guy's hand, goes up their backside and moves their mouth. Kamala Harris is literally that. Same with Joe Biden. They're not real. Fugazi, forgot. You turn on the lights, they disappear. They're not real. Watch them go away and they'll never be heard from again. Obama and Eric Holder have some sticking capacity. And so that's where we're going to focus on this program. You promised America that Texas would turn purple, then blue. This is exactly what they said after 2008 in Obama's victory in 2008. Demographics are destiny, they would tell us. Then, when the state of Texas didn't vote the right way in 2016 and 2020, they decided that they were going to monstrously engage in the largest human smuggling operation in world history, to smuggle into this nation the third world primarily, but also terrorists. And those are the ones that we know of. Wait till you hear the real numbers when we get back in charge. The Obama and Biden numbers that they've been willing to say are that there are thousands of people on the terrorist watch list that came into this nation. They brought in murderers that murdered. I can show you the literal body count of the murders that happened because of their criminal illegal alien operation. And what was it all for? It was certainly not for the benefit of this nation. And no, I'm not going to say, well, we need cheap labor, so we need to import slave labor into this country. I think that that's an evil, actually. No, there are a lot of Americans suffering. There are a lot of Americans who need jobs in this country. And tough luck. You should start building your products here. Oh, you have to pay more? Fine. Good, actually. You'll make a better product when you pay more. I don't care. I am here for the benefit and the edification of my nation. And importing 5% of Haiti doesn't edify this nation. They don't, these are people who don't speak English. Like, again, like you're like, in what universe does that make sense? Thankfully, Elon Musk talks about it. Joe Rogan talks about it. And it's only for a specific reason. Now we've completely mainstreamed this idea because it's what's happening. All right. It wouldn't take root unless it was true. And it's true. We have the data to back it up. You tried to accomplish through illegal human smuggling operations and Soros prosecutors this goal. How's that working out for you, a-holes? Here's Texas in 2024. God bless Texas. I will never recover from the fact that Texas went more red than Florida. I will spend the rest of my life. I will grow my hair long. I will grow my hair down to here to look just like Scott Pressler and to make Florida more red than Texas. I am so bitter about this. But way to go, Texas. God bless you guys. You guys did an amazing job. Look at the difference in the years. Look what's happened. Look at the Rio Grande Valley right here. Look at that. Look what you, how's that working out for you, Obama, Eric Holder? You monsters. Listen, not only is it monstrous to the people of like Springfield, Ohio, or these little towns in Pennsylvania or Maine that have had these criminal aliens literally swamp and destroy resources, and far worse, quite frankly, in these areas. You know, New York City just ended yesterday their free EBT card, their free government pay for groceries and food cards for criminal aliens. Expect the free housing to end next. Eric Adams saying he's going to work with Donald Trump. They're going to probably rescind their sanctuary city status at that point. It's going to be amazing. This is not to demonize any specific group of people. This is simply to say that you must see your immigration policies as as the rules that govern society, a society that you wish to cherish, which is Western civilization. And these people don't cherish Western civilization. They hate Western civilization. Obama and Holder hate this society and hate this nation. And they wished for permanent political power. They wish to change the demographic makeup of this country for permanent political power. And what do I mean by that? I don't even mean skin color. What I mean is government dependency. It really has nothing to do with skin color. It has to do with capacity. When you get flown into, in the dark of night, a new country, and you don't speak the language, you don't have any skill, you don't have any community, you have no capacity to afford groceries or gas, nor Americans who've lived here for 7 generations can't afford groceries and gas. So how is an impoverished criminal alien supposed to do that without the government's help? And what is the purpose of doing that? Like, explain this to me. Somebody, very calmly and simply, explain this to me. In what world does this help out in America that's already suffering, where the vast majority of Americans can barely get by? How does it help us? It doesn't. It's only for raw political power that they did this, to eliminate all swing states forever. And that's what I cannot unite with. More than any of the others, that's the thing I can't unite with, and I hope you don't either. Democrats are going to have to get down on their knees and grovel and beg forgiveness. You will need to show remorse for what you've done. You will need to disavow that you openly engaged in and were happy about the largest human smuggling operation on earth that harms the humans you're smuggling, harms this nation. For what? Exactly. For your own power, and that's it. The only explanation for you to get permanent political power to oppress us and put a jackboot on our neck forever. It's amazing how this was the majority of what was talked about in the Elon Musk, Joe Rogan podcast, the last podcast to drop before the election. Dude, if a guy like Joe Rogan can understand this, and I have great respect for Joe Rogan, but he typically doesn't, he's not the political hot take guy. But Joe Rogan like sits back and goes, yes, man, yes, this is true. This is what's happened in the country. Thank God Texas has secure elections and ran a tight ship. And I hear that Texas is going to do a full audit of their election, the largest election audit in history, to root out any further fraud. We'll expect those teeny little blue dots to go red then after they do that. You've already lost the Rio Grande Valley. By the way, these counties are like 97% Hispanic right here. These are 97% Hispanic counties voting for Trump. 70% of the county votes for Trump. Great job, Obama. Great job, Eric Holder. You frauds. What's amazing is that people don't, the legal immigrants, and I'm a descendant of legal immigrants. I'm sure, of course, you are as well. Very few people go back to the Mayflower. If you do, that's awesome. Good for you. But what's amazing is that the pathway to an immigrant coming here to this country is very difficult for my ancestors, for your ancestors, for anyone's ancestors. Vivek Ramaswamy tells a story about his parents. They're first-generation immigrants, right? You don't come here and go through all that legally, which is a lift, man, in any generation. You don't go through that hell in order to see the country that you came to destroyed by megalomaniacal, truly, the true demons behind this entire process. There they are. I don't ever want to say the word Kamala Harris ever again. I don't want to ever say the word Joe Biden ever again. It's Obama and Eric Holder. And focus up, because they're not going to hand over the keys willingly. I think they got shenanigans planned. I think they're actively trying to nab Senate seats in the dark of night through ballot dumps. It's like 2020 all over again, but on like a much smaller scale. They've narrowed the scale. They're trying to nab House seats the same way. We mustn't let them do it. This ticket won the popular vote, the Electoral College in a landslide. They won historic numbers of Hispanics, blacks, Native Americans, Asians, women, and young people. In fact, it was young people who delivered this ticket to the White House. So why don't you ask yourself this? In what world has Barack Obama succeeded? Barack Obama has failed. Identity politics failed. You failed. Your worldview has been destroyed. And you should retire. Or better yet, you can get on one of these government flights. They're free, and you can leave. There'll be going to be a lot of them. You just hop on one. I'll sponsor you. Okay, I'll be your NGO, right? I'll be your little NGO. I'll happy to pay for it. Your odious and sickening, divisive worldview has failed. We have won. We, patriots, are in control. And what's amazing is that they know it. Check out this footage of Nancy Pelosi leaving Kamala's concession speech, having a pure meltdown. ALX, was the video, is Pelosi doing a press conference right now? Is that old footage or new footage? I know that this is new footage. Let me check with my producer to see if there's something that came across my feed of Nancy Pelosi walking up to the dais today. Here's Nancy Pelosi being asked about Trump, looking more like a lizard person than I've ever seen. Check it out.
Pelosi, how are you feeling today?
I feel I'm so inspired by the Vice President's speech. She has showed so much strength throughout all of this, including today. Of course, I'm very disappointed.
And another 4 years of Donald Trump?
I don't want to even talk about him today.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, my producer has told me, producer ALX has told me, unfortunately, the clip that I saw was an old clip of Nancy Pelosi. Okay. Oh, this is in Atlanta. Okay. Look at this. Sorry, I was just on a rant. I had to check the production. Look at this. In Atlanta. Come on. This was what was being covered up. This is what was being painted over. It's so beautiful. Eric Klein, we went to Atlanta. We passed out MAGA hats underneath this mural. This might have been around the corner from us. We handed out MAGA hats and we painted it red, baby. We did it, boys. We freaking did it. Whew. Can you get me the first minute of our MAGA hat YouTube video? Oh, it gets the people going. Gets the people going. Wesley Hunt, the great Congressman Wesley Hunt, will be joining us in a moment, and so I will talk with him about it. But can you load up just the first minute? I think Eric's got it. This is the first minute. We're going to do major love, major shout-outs to the team today. Democrats in shambles, ladies and gentlemen, because they understand what's actually happening in this country. The wages of sin. You reapeth what you sow. And what they've sown is division and hatred in this nation, and we actually live in a great country. And we don't hate each other, actually. I don't wish to unite with demons, but I don't hate anyone. So when I look at this, I say, like, this is actually the country that we live in. 5 million more votes for President Trump than Kamala, an absolute landslide. 3 of 12, locked in, officially locked in. Best Republican performance in 100 years. Since 1928. So just round up. 100 years. Best Republican performance in 100 years. Populist messaging. The most unified ticket in American history. I'm actually glad for what they did in 2020 because it gave us a chance to unify. It gave us a chance to actually show the American people what our vision is. And to tell it. Oh boy, man, we have been talking on this program for a long time about what's actually happening in this country. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's real. It's real. We've been telling you the truth. And now, guess who agrees with us? Guess who agrees with us? Our boy, Harry Enton on CNN. There's this one dude on CNN that we like, okay? Don't. Give me a second, all right? Dude's name's Harry Enton. We play clips of him all the time. I think you might like him too. He's this guy who like just completely raw dogs the data. And he's just like, dude, the data look like it sucks for Democrats. If you were listening to Harry Enton on CNN, of all places, and you should not watch CNN until Elon Musk buys it. When Elon Musk buys it, fine, watch CNN. But this guy was like spitting the actual truth on the programs that he was on by explaining the data and telling Democrats they were going to lose. And here he is this morning saying, told you bitches. Here we go.
The breadth of the improvement that Donald Trump had. Holy Toledo. All right. Trump gained ground in 49 states and the District of Columbia compared to 2020. I went back through the record books. When was the last time a party gained in so many different places? You have to go all the way back to 1992 when Bill Clinton improved upon Michael Dukakis's performance in 49 states, plus the District of Columbia. The bottom line is no matter where you looked on the map, Kate Baldwin, no matter where you looked, Donald Trump was improving on where he did 4 years ago, except for Washington State. It is no wonder that at this particular point, he looks like he's going to be the first Republican to win the popular vote since George W. Bush back in 2004.
And to pull that off, he gained ground with groups that Republicans do not generally count as part of their winning coalition, or really at all. How much ground did he gain?
Yeah, holy Toledo. It's just like, oh, my goodness gracious. These are the types of groups that you would never have thought that Donald Trump would have gained so much support among 8 years ago when he first won against Hillary Clinton. Trump's was the best GOP showing among 18 to 29-year-olds in 20 years. You have to go all the way back to 2004. How about among black voters? It was the best performance for a Republican candidate for president in 48 years since Gerald Ford back in 1976. And among Hispanic voters, the exit polls only go back since 1972. But Donald Trump's performance on Tuesday was the best for a Republican presidential candidate in exit poll history. He literally goes all the way back through history and breaks history. This is what we're talking about, Kate Baldwin. Groups that you never thought that Donald Trump would do well among, even for a Republican candidate, that is what he did. If the 2016 election was about Donald Trump breaking through with white working class voters, this election was about breaking through and going to that Democratic coalition and tearing it apart.
And it wasn't just what he did for his own support. It trickled down to helping the Senate and helping in the House?
Yeah. So, a lot of talk this morning and this week is, the GOP is going to have a Senate majority. We don't know if the Republicans are going to have a House majority, but we think that that's the most likely to be the case. But I want you to look at the 2024 House GOP national vote showing. So this is the House popular vote. Currently, the GOP is ahead by 5 points. I expect that to shrink a little bit as some of the California results come in. But if let's just say he wins, the House GOP wins by more than 2.6 points, it will be the best House GOP showing in a presidential year in the House popular vote since 1928. If there's any viewer out there who is that old, God bless you. But the bottom line is it was probably the best House GOP national vote showing during most of our viewers' lifetimes.
Holy Toledo! Like I said, you see why I love that guy? Okay, I will admit. Look at me, expanding the party, saying there's one guy on CNN I actually do like, and that's why I like him. Holy Toledo! Best Republican performance in 100 years, people. We did it. And they're starting to actually take a step back. So whenever you lose a battle, you zoom out of the landscape and you see, where did I lose that battle? How did I lose? Where was I weak? How did we fail so badly? And you're licking your wounds and you're like, dude, what went wrong? There's a reckoning that's happening right now in the corporate press, and it is it is so freaking delicious. Fill my cup, boys. This dude named Jim Vandehei. Jim Vandehei, you probably never heard of him. He runs Axios, which is considered, one of these like cutting, bleeding edge news sites. He's the founder of Politico. He's in charge. He was founded Politico. That was a pretty prominent site, for quite a while. It has descended into complete hot garbage. But this guy's seen as a technologist when it comes to the news ecosystem. He goes on Morning Joe, and there's a term, piss in your punch bowl. This is what the guy did. He did, like, Morning Joe, he literally went in and like dumped an entire thing of salt in their coffee live on air and said, drink it, I want you to drink the milkshake, drink it. And he forced him to drink it, and it was, you can listen to the audible gasps in this clip as listen, bro, Jim Vandehei's one of the most respected media dudes the technologists in the entire ecosystem. So call it what it is. He walks on Morning Joe and he salts them live. I didn't even need to salt these libs. Jim Vandehei, of all things, does it. Watch this.
Because you've always been sort of the leading edge of where media is going with Politico, now with Axios. You understand the environment so well. How do Democrats, and frankly, how does legacy media need to change the way it thinks about getting information? I mean, a lot of the voters who went out and voted for Donald Trump, that so many people are wondering what happened here, they're not watching, frankly, this show. They're not reading the New York Times. They're not consuming media that way. And the Trump campaign found those voters where they live. So how do Democrats need to change the way they communicate to voters, if you think that's part of the problem?
For sure. I mean, I think all of us have to come to grips with legacy media is just not as important as it thinks it is. It is to you, it is to me. That's a relatively small group of people who rely on us for their information. And you have to go into the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. And basically, the way people get information is shattered into 20, 30 different pieces. And so if you just look empirically at the numbers, Joe Rogan's more important than any of us. He just has a much bigger, hyper-connected audience that listens to his every word. So maybe listen to Joe Rogan and kind of understand, like, what is he talking about? What are the guests that he has on? What are the issues that they care about? Realize that the gravity of right-wing discourse is now taking place on X. It's not Fox. X is what matters. Elon Musk is now, I wrote about this yesterday, arguably the most powerful civilian in the history of the country. He controls information flow. He controls multiple businesses. He has the president's ear. He's going to be in charge of some newfangled organization to gut government spending. We've not seen a person with that kind of clout across those sectors. But where his real power comes from is X. People thought he was an idiot when he bought X because he lost a lot of money. He's got a lot of money. And now he happens to have the most powerful platform on the right, and politics is downstream from information. And there's just a whole new information ecosystem out there. So for us, for you, for Democrats, for Republicans, you have to understand that you now are going to have to basically navigate 20 or 30 different parts of the ecosystem if you want to connect with the American people who vote.
We do our best on this program to meet you together with what we want to cover. Let me explain. When Joe Biden drops out, we were live in like 15 minutes. The entire freaking crew, the ecosystem that we built here, we all dropped what we were doing on a Sunday afternoon and freaking got online. Donald Trump was nearly assassinated. Donald Trump hit with a bullet in the head. We were live in 20 minutes. We have a connection with our audience. We muscularly give you the news in a truthful and authentic way on election night. We had 250,000 concurrents on YouTube alone just talking through the map. Because quite frankly, that's what I want to see. We've built this entire channel off of what Jim Vandehei just talked about. He says that Joe Rogan's audience is connected to Joe. They love what Joe says. We were at dinner last night because the producers are here in studio. It's great, ALX and Danny. And we were talking about how everyone was saying, like, everyone was able to shout out Joe Rogan's shirt when he interviewed Donald Trump. Yo, that's his fight shirt. Yo, we love his shirt. Like, because actually bros only own like 3 or 4 shirts. And so we actually like know Joe Rogan so well, we can count out his wardrobe. That's great. That's real. Name one thing that Joe Scarborough, who is like he has the #1 show for libs. Name one thing that he said this entire election cycle that had any consequence. Name one person that would feel connected to Joe Scarborough. Name anyone that would even like recognize him in a grocery store. Or Rachel Maddow. Or Rachel Maddow's Yaya sister, Mark Cuban. None of these people are relevant. They don't have any real audience. They have no real connection. Meanwhile, you know about my kids and our lives, and because we're in this together. I'm not better than you. I don't virtue signal you. I'm a simple dad just going about like trying to save this damn country so my kids don't have to grow up in a Marxist concentration camp. That's what I do here. And we're pretty obvious about like our failings and that we're just simple Christians and we're just trying to like make it. We're trying to make it happen for our kids. That's our motivation. That's it. That's the entire staff's motivation here. And that authenticity that resounds in shows like Candace's or Charlie's or Tucker's, that's what wins. There are these other guys, Theo Vaughn, right? Flagrant Podcast with Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, Sean Ryan. These guys, like, they have connection. We have connection. It's great. I have nothing to hide. And this is what Jim Vandehei is like, hey, us sitting there in our Priuses, sniffing our farts, shove it, like navel gazing. That's what the corporate media is. I was part of that ecosystem as a young man growing up. I worked for these big corporate media companies. It's so pretentious. It's so sneering. Some of these people won't even pay for verification on X. These big time reporters refuse to like pay $8 a month. What is it, ALX? $8 a month on X. They'll pay for a DEI department in their media company, but they won't pay for verification to get you the news. No, man, they're all frauds. And it's all, the ecosystem is collapsing and they realize it now. They realize what they've done. And it's so great. I was wondering this election cycle, why is little old us? Why is our channel in so many headlines? This is not us this is not me patting us on the back necessarily. Like we're not trying, I mean, we're not clout chasers. We're not throne sniffers. We do not do that. We do not do that. But like, wait a second. Like, what's the deal? Like, why is the New York Times writing hit pieces on us every week? Us? We like do memes. We like do memes, and Mike Davis goes viral for for talking about the Weight Watchers classes where they find Democrat prosecutors. Like what that's what we do. We have like a blast on this program. Why are they suddenly writing about us like every week? Why are all these people wanting to do long form pieces on what we're building here? Because it works. Because we built it correctly. Because you're real. Because we love the chat. We love you. You're real in the chat. Prove it. Put up Trump fights in the chat. We can prove it live. Fight. We do the members get like these emojis. You do the fight emoji. It's awesome. And we love you for it. And when we go to Trump rallies, I spend the entire Trump rally hugging people. All we do is hug people. It's awesome. Because we've actually built a real movement, like an actual audience. And these NPCs, these godless NPCs who actually despise and sneer at their audience, they pushed you away. They drove you away. They said you are an irredeemable, garbage, Nazi, fascist, deplorable. these sick bastards, and we say, no, you're an American. We love you. Come give us a hug. Come here. Come here. And now they're starting to realize it. They're starting to get it. Look at all those fights. Look at all those. You just pop it up. We'd love to be able to put all the comments on screen during the show. We're working on it. We get so many comments from so many different platforms. It's like impossible. And then when Robbie does the comments, he's like, they're coming in too fast. I can't do it. Right? And Robbie puts up all these naughty comments during our lives by accident. It is what it is. Look at this fight. We love you. Just huge shout outs to the chat. We just big hearts to the chats. Ladies and gentlemen, something we won't have to do is what MSNBC's most sniveling reporter, Ari Mabler, had to do yesterday, which was to eat crow live on air. As a Democrat strategist, looks him in the eye live on air and goes, nobody watches your show, bro. That's amazing. Watch this.
What matters, folks? No one watches cable news. Nobody watches news, okay?
Why'd you take the booking then, Rachel?
Well, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of the overall population, Ari, I mean, we're talking about 10% of the population.
No, I just have to fact check you. You know, millions of people watch all types of news and then even more on YouTube. So when you say no one, I think you mean undecided, low information, swing voters.
Yeah, no,
many people don't, many people do.
The majority of people don't know who their governor is.
They don't watch your show, Paul. Hey, pal, they're not watching your show. Hey, nobody's watching. That's why you lose. That's such a funny image, Klein. Just put that out. I've been waiting. Meanwhile, here's what we're doing. We get higher ratings. I bet more people watch our show every single day than Ari Mabler. I bet we could run the numbers. We have the Nielsen ratings, pal. We had a cable news show once. We had a cable news show. We did your business, okay? We choose this. More people watch us do this than you. What's that feel like? How do you handle that, pal? I'd love to know. I can tell you how they're handling it. Here's Van Jones sobbing last night on CNN Live. Van Jones crying live on air, whimpering that Elon Musk is the most powerful man on earth, and that what happened was we built something they weren't prepared for. We built through hard work, we built a connection mechanism to you. And that made all the difference in this election. Go.
And here's how we got beat. We got beat because the Republicans and the conservatives built a different media system that had to do with online, had to do with podcasts, had to do with streaming platforms, and they were spending their money there. We were laughing at them and knocking on doors in Philadelphia and Detroit. It's like, there's no Trump people. They're not dropping literature. They're not knocking on doors.
In fact, it was laughing like, oh, Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk with their PACs don't know what they're doing.
We were making fun of Donald Trump for having thrown away his ground game and doing some weird stuff online. We thought that they were idiots. It turned out we were the idiots. We woke up in a body bag because while we were knocking on doors, they were making these phones into 24-hour-a-day political weapons for themselves. And so we got outflanked, outplayed, outbeat by people who told us the whole time that they knew what they were doing.
Man, we got to see Vivek and Van Jones. I don't know if you remember this, but Vivek goes up to Van Jones and tells him to F off at the DNC convention. It's wild. We're the only people that captured it on footage because we were live streaming with Vivek during the DNC convention. This is how much fun we've had this election cycle. Like, do you even remember that? Like Eric and Klein, like we were all there. Like it seems like a lifetime ago. It was like a couple months ago, and we walking around the DNC convention, just live streaming Vivek right at the DNC convention. It was really fun. It's a wild how many. I knew this election was cooked. Dems were cooked when I saw the number of selfies that Vivek took at the DNC. All right, okay. Anyway, you can go check it. The live stream's up. Live stream's still up. Go look at it. Vivek walks up to Van Jones and is like, F you, because of what you called me a Nazi, and he did, and said that I was like a right wing, you called me like Hitlerian, and that led to death threats against me, my family, people showing up at my house, and you're a scumbag for doing that. And this happened in the hallway at the DNC. We were live, and lo and behold, Van Jones walks up to him and says, I'm sorry. That was an absolutely shitty thing for me to do. Here's my number. I'm sorry that I did that. I'm like, yo, that's crazy that we were able to capture that moment. It says a lot about this nation. It says a lot about this country. And I'm not here to hype Van Jones at all. But boy, was Van Jones a human being in that moment? And also, because he didn't need to do that. And also, is Van Jones right in that last clip? We woke up in a body bag, he says, because conservatives, because we went and did this all day. We made social feeds that inform you every single day. Do you follow this show on X? Do you follow the show on YouTube? Do you follow this show on TikTok and Instagram? We're on all of them. Facebook. We love you all. And we have a monster machine over here that publishes information day and night. Day and night. Sometimes through the night. Boys, did we sleep in the studio on election night? We did. We literally slept in the studio on election night. Didn't really sleep, actually. We were ripping recordings at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and 6 a.m. in the studio after doing 8 hours live because we love you and it's important for us to inform you. We're just going to work harder than these people. And Van Jones just acknowledged that. It's so awesome. Watch this meltdown over Joe Rogan and independent media on MSNBC. The salt must flow.
Particularly the media ecosystem it's not a good one, it's a negative one, it's a radicalization funnel. But what they have done in their online media ecosystem is build a radicalization engine, literally the way militant groups do around the world, that takes people from relatively low-level annoyances with the world. Why are eggs so expensive? Why is my kid learning this new thing in American history in school that I didn't learn? And then moves them through YouTube videos, through podcasts, moves them from that annoyance all the way, slowly, to a full-blown fascist politics. It's an elaborate multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, and there is nothing like it on the pro-democracy side. We don't have when a man is just lost and lonely and not yet radicalized, we don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction. By the way, we should educate men that it's actually really great to live with a strong woman who makes money. It's actually easier. Life is easier.
But I think...
Keep doing it! Keep listening to those people. What an asshat. What a chode. Bro. You are cooked, bro. What is wrong with that guy? What's this guy's hair? Who is this? Are you Jack Frost? Can somebody give me a side-by-side with Martin Short's character, Jack Frost, in the Santa Claus 3, and that guy? This is why you watch, ladies and gentlemen. We have a full-time meme team at this show, the only one. It's Joe Scarborough don't have a Jerry, okay? Joe Scarborough doesn't have a Jerry. We have a full-time meme team. Get me that guy and Jack Frost side by side. Has anybody seen these two in the same room together? Is he Jack Frost? Is this Jack Frost appearing for the first time? Is that who this man is? I don't know. I've never heard of this man. We're not sure, ladies and gentlemen. We'll investigate on this program. This is the kind of hard-hitting journalism that you sign up for when you're here. Okay? Democrat strategists. This has been a wholesale rejection of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party of Barack Obama is over, they say. They're saying this on their own airwaves. They're saying this on CNN. The glory, the tears, the salt, they flow from the heavens. Here we go.
And here's the thing, guys. We just had a national referendum on basically the two parties, right? My work is about getting the Democratic Party, to appreciate how much top-line narratives and branding matters. And as you were pointing out in these results, there's nothing here to nitpick and say, well, actually, it wasn't so bad. It was a wholesale rejection. And yes, it is powered by racism and sexism. There's a large chunk for people who study MAGA for a living like I do that are white nationalists, frankly, right? But there's another chunk of people who just simply don't believe that about the Republicans, right? And then there's, in this data, a shift of non-white people shifting to the Republican Party, folks. That isn't racism. That isn't sexism. What that is the sound machine that Republicans have, right? So let me
slow you down just to give you one chart, and you can speak to this. We'll leave it up. You just said it ain't racism if Latinos, like every other voting group, diverse, make up their own minds, and we'll put this up, go towards Trump from 20 to 24.
Yes, exactly. It's not. And what it is that we get caught up on reality. Oh, well, immigrants add more than they take. There's no men, hardly any trans kids that want to play a sport anyway, right? The average American can't name their own senator, okay?
Wait a second. So they're sitting there going through their own communist struggle session saying, the Latinos are the real racists. Keep it up! Keep it up, guys! I want you to do it! Keep doing it! I want you to do it. I beg of you, please. Here's a map. Let me show you this. Here's a map of Texas. This is what happens when you call Latinos Latinx. Latinx. This is what happens when you literally make up new words in Spanish. New literal slurs. It's a slur. It's a slur. It's an insult to the language. It's an insult to their history. It's an insult to their ancestors when you call them a Latinx. Here you go. Here you go. All my exes live in Texas. Here's your ex. Libs. This is your ex. Because Texas is gone. Amazing. Beautiful. Look at that. And speaking of something you'll never find in Texas, Jack Frost. So this is our research. Okay, this is how good this team is. This is why we're so thankful for you to watch. Has anybody seen this man who was just on MSNBC in the same room as Jack Frost before? Have you ever seen it? Did MSNBC just platform? Did MSNBC just announce just announce that there is a magical fairy creature that appeared live on their airwaves? Have we ushered in winter by platforming Jack Frost? I don't really care what the guy said because what he said is stupid. Okay, it's not even worth my time. It's like shadow boxing, not even worth my time. It's playtime. Okay, ball of yarn. Speaking of, that guy's hair does kind of look like a ball of something, and now we know it looks like Jack Frost's hair. So I'm excited. MSNBC is platforming mythical fairy creatures. I think that's, well, I mean, it's just in time for the Christmas season. So in a way, we're saying Merry Christmas all over again. So thank you, MSNBC. We're thankful for you. Ladies and gentlemen, the meltdowns continue. CNN, Democrat strategist, walks on CNN and very kindly takes out a blowtorch, loads it with flammable liquid, and goes, watch this, watch.
No, I'm going to speak some hard truths to my friends in the Democratic Party. This is not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Barack Obama's fault. It is the fault of the Democratic Party in not knowing how to communicate effectively to voters. We are not the party of common sense, which is what the message that voters sent to us. For a number of reasons. We don't know how to speak to voters. When we address Latino, and language has meaning. When we address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do. It makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do. When we are too afraid to say that, hey, college kids, if you're trashing a campus at Columbia University because you're unhappy about some sort of policy and you're taking over a university, and you're trashing it and preventing other students from learning, that is unacceptable. But we're so worried about alienating one or another cohort in our coalition that we don't know what to say when normal people look at that and say, wait a second, I send my kids to college so they can learn, not so that they can burn buildings and trash lawns, right? And so on and so forth. When we put pronouns after names and say she, her, as opposed to saying, you know what, if I call you by the wrong pronoun, call me out, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But stop with the virtue signaling and just speak to people like they're normal. There's nothing I'm going to say to Shermichael that I'm not going to say to you, that I'm not going to say to somebody else. I speak the same language to everybody. But that's not what Democrats do. We constantly try to parse out different ways of speaking to different cohorts because our focus groups or our polling shows that so-and-so appeals to such and such. That's not how normal people think. It's not common sense. And we need to start being the party of common sense again. Joe Biden is not responsible for that. Neither is Kamala Harris. It is a problem that Democrats have had for years. I've been banging the drum on this for, I don't know how, probably 10 years, if not longer on this. We need to get back to being the party of common sense, that people look at us and say, we understand you. We appreciate what you say because you speak our language. And until we do that, we should stop blaming other people for our own mistakes.
Ladies and gentlemen, they did the meme. They did the meme. I love that. I love it. Oh, we just called a bunch of Latinos Latinx. How'd that work out for us? Here's the perfect meme. Am I out of touch? No, it's minorities who are white supremacists now. It's so good. Am I out of touch? No, actually, it's the Latinxers. It's my Latinx friends who are white supremacists. Yeah, okay, all right.